Hey, what's going on guys, Conman here. As you probably saw from the title, today's video is going to be a list of my top 5 quality of life improvements that made it into the 1.4 update for Terraria. If you are interested in checking out the rest of the series I will be posting, I have a playlist in the top link in the description down below. Kicking things off with number 5, we have the Bestiary or Bestiary, depending on how you pronounce it. This feature will, in my opinion, eliminate the need to use the wiki for most returning players. Don't get me wrong, I think that there are still some things you may want to reference, even as a veteran, especially when it comes to checking out and verifying information on some of the newer content. But for players who are already familiar with drops from certain enemies and bosses, but aren't quite sure how lucky or unlucky they've been and want to see what the rates and percentages are, they will now have access to that without ever having to open a browser. And it's all in-game and the menu looks amazing. Moving on to number 4, we have the new world selection and character creation menus. I bundled these together since I think they're very similar in a lot of ways. The biggest sticking point I feel is that mechanics in games shouldn't be noticed for how they're downgrading the player experience, but instead they shouldn't really be noticed at all, because the integration into the game is so seamless that it just makes sense. I think that the old menus definitely fell into what I would consider the first category of being something that was noticeably annoying to navigate, and it had a little bit of a lack of polish with some glaring problems in terms of the efficiency department. It just wasn't really fast to click through every single hairstyle for your character, and not being able to see them all at once was not great. That being said, from the overall look and layout of both menus, the new ones, to the addition of the random name generator for new worlds, which is pretty cool, and the new options available on the character department, everything is clean, well designed, and most importantly, it's quick and easy to use. For number 3, we have the boss health bar feature, which is now displayed on the bottom of the screen after damaging a boss type enemy. This means that it is usable if you have multiple bosses. It'll just show the last boss hit. Now, this one's been requested for a while, without a doubt. I remember even when I started playing Terraria, when it first came out on console, that there were people asking for an overlay like the one we saw added in 1.4 in places like the forum and chat rooms on the game that I was a part of. That being said, boss health bars have been around for quite a while. Their implementation was just in the form of a couple of popular mod packs, but for those of us who are vanilla Terraria folks, being able to much more easily track just how much HP the bosses have is really going to have an impact on how risky you play, as well as how accurately you can assess your power level inside of the context of a single fight. Not to mention the gratification that comes with summoning one of those early game bosses like the Eye of Cthulhu and then watching his health just completely disappear in seconds when you pull out your best gear set and just demolish him. For number 2, we have the addition of the pylons. Now, in a lot of ways, pylons are pretty much just teleporters that don't need wiring, but players do have the drawback of not being able to use one per biome on a world. Even with that limitation, though, not having to set up wires for pylons is a huge improvement that will save people a significant amount of time, money, and effort. I think me personally, I probably spent about an average of 1 to 2 hours per teleporter pre 1.4. But I generally like to make them super far away from spawn so that I get the most bang for my buck. And I also generally play on large size worlds. So there is that. It might be a little bit weird for doing those things. I'm not sure. It's going to be so nice playing Terraria, not having to worry about any of that until like the super late stages of the game where I start emphasizing building and experimenting with different wiring setups and creating multiple unique structures in each biome and all that fun stuff. Before I get into number 1, I did want to include a few honorable mentions here for the top spot, in my opinion, which are as follows. The first honorable mention is pixies, which can help you find loot in the underground without needing to use spelunking potions or a star fury. The second honorable mention is trashing items being moved to new keybind, which is gonna take a little bit of getting used to from what I've heard, but it's certainly gonna help me to not accidentally delete my entire armor set as I'm setting up for a extremely important boss fight. Thirdly, there's the new player ping system, which is going to be great in multiplayer. And the final honorable mention that I have is the new customizable UI elements, including the health bars and minimap, which will help for both clarity and also feeling cool and independent about my own setup, yo. So finally, for number 1, we have official mod support included in the form of a downloadable DLC, and it's all within Steam. Not only does this make the process of downloading mods a lot easier in general, but it's going to open up a whole new part of the player base that might not have previously known about or been exposed to modding, to the world of modded Terraria, and it's going to increase the longevity of the game for countless players pretty much indefinitely as long as people continue to create content. With that said, that's pretty much all I have for you guys today. If you did want to check out the rest of the videos in this series, go ahead and check the top link in the description down below, which will bring you to the playlist. If you'd like to see more Terraria content on my channel, please subscribe. If you have any thoughts to share in the list I presented, maybe some things you agree with or disagree with, feel free to comment down below and I would love to talk about it. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys later.